Are you familiar with this question? When you start talking about what you do in your free time and you talk about how you're a triathlete and your friends are looking at you nodding like they understand what you're talking about, and one of your friend whispers to another, "What is triathlon again?" Well, for you OGs that already know what triathlon is and you're saying, "Yeah, stop the video. Wait. I'm here to help answer the questions for your friends. So don't stop the video. Instead, forward it to them and say, y'all, this is what a triathlon is. Triathlon is a race where you swim, then you bike, and then you run. Now, we found out that there is a triathlon in SoCal, Southern California, that's called the Tinsel Triathlon. And it's actually a triathlon where you run, then you bike, then you swim. So it's backwards. And it happens every December, and we're kind of hoping that we can get down there to see it. But anyway, regular triathlon, swim, bike, and run. Speaking of SoCal, triathlon actually started what we consider to be modern day triathlon in 1974 in SoCal by the San Diego Track Club. Now, if you're a history buff, that's something to know. And if you're a huge history buff, then you want to know that the actual date was September 24th, 1974. You're welcome. Don't you feel more educated now? There are lots of different distances that a triathlon can cover, but the four most common distances are the sprint triathlon, the Olympic triathlon, a half, and a full. Sprint triathlons are usually, of course, by the word sprint, shorter, and they're about a 500 to an 800 meter swim, a bike of 15 to 18 miles, actually let's say 12 to 15 miles because that's what my notes in front of me say, and I wasn't reading the notes. I was trying to do it from memory. Mayhaps I should stop doing it from memory. And then a 5K run, which is 3.1 miles. Then you have your Olympic, which is a 0.93 mile swim, which that's something in Ks and kilometers, but I live in America and I don't do kilometers or math. So 0.93 mile swim, 25 to 30 mile bike, and then a 10K run. I know how to do that math because I've been doing 10Ks forever, and that is a 6.2 mile run. Now, the third one is a half. A half is 70.3 miles where you're going to cover a distance. There is no vacillating between the distances here. These distances are set. You're going to swim 1.2 miles, you're going to ride 56 miles, and then you're going to run 13.1 miles, which is a half marathon. Then the final one is full, which if you take the half and you double it, you have a full. This one also does not change. The distances will always be the same no matter where you run this across the world. And that is a 2.4 mile swim, a 102 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run, which is a full marathon. So that's 140.6. And because right now we're on these distances, let me do some clarifying for you. Many people, when they think triathlon, say, oh, so you're gonna go do an Ironman. Ironman is a brand of triathlon. It's like me sneezing and then saying to a friend, could you get me a Kleenex? I don't really want a Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand name. I want a tissue. But because Kleenex is so prevalent and everyone knows Kleenex, it's kind of a catch-all. Or if you're in the South here in the States or in the Southeast, somebody says, hey, do you want a Coke? They don't really mean, do you want a Coke? They mean, do you want a carbonated beverage that's a soda, which is what we say where I grew up in the Midwest. So Ironman is a brand. Ironman was the brand that actually made popular those two distances that we just talked about, the 70.3 and the 140.6. However, you can do a triathlon at any distance and it doesn't have to be an Ironman. Yeah, but how do you do all that? How do you swim and then bike and then run? I mean, what do you do with your stuff and how do you go from one to the other? I love answering that question. It's a place called transition. And in transition, you have your bike set up, and you have your shoes and your visor or whatever else you'll need for the run set up. All of that is the holding place for it's your home base, let's say, your go-to. That's where you're gonna come back to change and to get the equipment that you need for the next step of the triathlon. For example, with swim, you're going to go back to transition. You're going to take your goggles and your swim cap off, and you're going to put them down, and then you're going to put on your helmet and all the other stuff that you need for the bike. And then you're going to race out of transition, do your bike, come back into transition, put your bike back, and they're on racks, so it's not like you're just going to throw it down on the ground. And then after you've racked your bike, you're going to put on your shoes, and you're going to put on your glasses and whatever else you need for the run. You're going to go out for the run, and then you're going to cross that finish line. Then you're going to come back to transition, gather all your crap up, and go home. And transition is always a secure place. There are always volunteers there, making sure that nobody comes in while you're gone and grabs your stuff. Transition makes triathlon easy. So there you go. Really quick explanation of what triathlon is. In a couple of weeks, we'll actually talk about how you can become a triathlete, what you need to get started. And trust me, even though the sport is expensive, it's really inexpensive. I know my grammar. I guess that's not grammar. I guess that's more vocabulary. It's very inexpensive to get started. In a couple of weeks, we will talk about what you need to get started if you are interested in becoming a triathlete. You know you really want to be a triathlete. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Deep down inside, your heart is saying, please let me be a triathlete, please. And how can you tell your heart no? Come back next week. We'll talk you through how to get started.